Princess Anne and Queen Camilla were never friends when Camilla married Prince Charles in 2005 and received the title of Queen Connaught, and firmly refused to curtsy to her. This wasn't just a whim. Behind that decision were old wounds dating back to their youth when both women were in love with the same man. For years they maintained a cold politeness and a quiet hostility. But recently everything changed, and gave a candid interview to Tatler magazine in which she finally said exactly what she thinks about Camilla. Her words hit like thunderclaps. What exactly did the princess say, and why did this become a turning point in their complicated relationship? Today we reveal the whole truth. In the 1970, while Britain was still under Queen Elizabeth Roman II's reign, young Princess Anne experienced her first real love. Her chosen one was one of the most eligible men in high society. Andrew Parker B.S., tall, athletic, impeccably mannered, and a charismatic cavalry officer, he embodied the very image of aristocratic charm. Andrew was known not only for his distinguished military service, but also for his wild private life. He was often called London's best lover, and tabloids revealed in stories of his romantic escapades. According to royal biographer Penny Jr., Parker B.S. was constantly involved with other women, including some of Camilla's own friends, showing little regard for discretion. His womanizing only made him more attractive to many, including royal family members. Anne and Andrew met in the early 1970, when she was in her early 20s. Their shared love of horses and competitive riding brought them closer. Royal biographer Sally Bedell Smith wrote that sparks quickly flew between them and fell in love, and the feelings seemed mutual. But from the start their romance was doomed. The problem was Andrew's religion. He was Catholic, and under the Act of Settlement of 1701, members of the British royal family were prohibited from marrying Catholics without forfeiting their right to the throne. Is the daughter of the Queen and fourth in line to the crown at the time, and could not consider marriage with Andrew without losing everything, even if she were willing to renounce her royal status. The match was politically and personally impossible, according to Bedell Smith, and was reportedly devastated when Andrew ended their relationship in 1973. But the tragedy ran deeper. Andrew was not exactly a free man. Camilla Shant, the clever, sharp-witted socialite, was also romantically involved with him. When Andrew began his affair with Anne, Camilla still considered him her man. She was furious when she learned about his involvement with Anne, and not just any woman, but a princess. Penny Junn recounts Andrew was a CAD. He was sleeping with other women, including some of Camilla's friends. So when he started seeing Princess Anne, Camilla decided, right, I'll teach him a lesson. That lesson came in the form of a now infamous love affair. Camilla, out of her or strategy or perhaps both, began a relationship with none other than Prince Charles, Anne's younger brother. And with that, one of the strangest romantic entanglements in royal history began. Soon after Anne and Andrew broke up, a peculiar and tangled romantic square began to take shape among the British royals. 4 individuals, Princess Anne, Andrew Parker B.S., Prince Charles, and Camilla Shand, were entangled in a web of emotions, rivalry, and public scrutiny. The couples even went on double dates, with Prince Charles appearing alongside Camilla, while his sister Anne arrived with Andrew. It seemed oddly balanced, almost like a royal switcheroo, but the emotional stakes were far more serious than they appeared. Camilla, who had originally started dating Charles to get back at Andrew, unexpectedly found herself genuinely falling for the future king. But the palace saw her as unsuitable for a royal bride. She was considered too experienced, bold, and tied to past relationships. In 1973, Camilla and Charles ended their relationship under pressure from the royal establishment. That same year, Andrew returned to Camilla and proposed. Just months after ending his romance with Anne, he was now engaged to her old rival. The woman Anne had never liked would now be married to the man she had loved. It was a painful loss for Princess Anne. First she lost Andrew, then she had to watch him return to Camilla, the one woman she resented most. In July 1973, Andrew Parker B.S. married Camilla Shand in a lavish London ceremony. Just months later, and two walked down the aisle, this time with Captain Mark Phillips, another cavalry man, but a much more reserved and private figure. The bitterness lingered, according to palace insiders, and took the whole situation very personally, though she rarely showed emotion publicly. Those close to her knew the wound ran deep. On the other hand, Camilla seemed triumphant, but she didn't get everything she wanted. Neither woman emerged fully victorious and had lost her love, and Camilla, despite being married, had lost her royal future with Charles. Their respective marriages only deepened the divide. The frost between them grew thicker. And while their public appearances together remained formally polite, the distance between Anne and Camilla was undeniable. Have you ever wondered what royals eat? I've always been curious about that. So I created a cookbook. It's called Elegant Main Dishes and is inspired by the real meals enjoyed by European royal families. Inside you'll find simple and tasty recipes. Some are great for everyday dinners. Others are perfect for holidays and special moments. I was inspired by the favorites of Kate Middleton, Prince Charles, Grace Kelly, and many other royals. If you'd like to bring a little royal flavor into your own kitchen, the book is available now on Amazon in both Kindle and hardcover. Just click the link below this video. Now, let's get back to Anne and Camilla. When Camilla married Prince Charles in 2005, she received the title of Duchess of Cornwall. That's when the conversations began about whether she would eventually become Queen Consort. British society was deeply divided over the marriage. On one hand, it was the long-outed union of lifelong lovers. On the other hand, many still remembered Princess Diana and simply could not accept Camilla as a worthy queen. Among those who struggled to welcome the new royal spouse was Charles's sister, Princess Anne. According to insiders, Princess Anne reacted to the wedding with notable restraint. Long before the ceremony, she made it clear she had no intention of curtsying to Camilla. It wasn't merely a personal sentiment. It was a statement. As a royal born into the House of Windsor, and requested a formal exemption from the royal protocol requiring her to bow, Princess Alexandra, Queen Elizabeth's cousin, supported her in this request, and the Queen agreed. As reported by former Kurtz, this exemption was documented by the Queen's private secretary at Anne's request. She didn't see why she should bow to a woman who for many years was considered a home wrecker, one royal aide said. Another added, Princess Anne was unmistakably frosty with Camilla and made it clear she would never curtsy. Over the following years, Anne and Camilla often appeared at the same events, but a distance between them was always palpable. They might stand side by side on the Buckingham Palace balcony, but their eyes rarely met. There were no hugs, warm glances, or whispered words between sisters-in-law. A former staffer described the dynamic as polite but icy. The press never officially commented on their strained relationship, but insiders privately spoke of cold civility. Anne is known for her bluntness and stoicism. She doesn't hide behind smiles or small talk. If she didn't like someone, it showed. For years, Princess Anne and Camilla maintained a polite but cold distance. But one particular moment just before the coronation nearly pulled off the mask of royal civility. According to David Emanuel, the designer of Princess Diana's wedding dress, there was a tense private dinner ahead of the coronation of King Charles and Queen Camilla. During the gathering, Princess Anne allegedly confronted her sister-in-law with a direct statement. "You're not queen, you're the Queen's consort." Emanuel claimed the matter of Camilla's new title was highly charged and that a lot of people were unhappy about the decision to refer to her as queen rather than Queen Consort. He further asserted that Queen Elizabeth Roman II had made it clear during her lifetime that Camilla should hold the title of Queen Consort, and that Camilla herself had initially agreed with that. But things changed. The consort designation quietly disappeared, and by the time of the coronation, Camilla was officially styled as the Queen. This was not just semantics to Anne, a royal traditionalist who respected the constitutional structure and symbolism behind every title. It was a breach of order, though never officially confirmed. Her pointed words at that dinner reportedly stirred significant discussion behind palace doors. As usual, Buckingham Palace declined to comment. Nevertheless, this moment speaks volumes. Even in 2023, mere days before Camilla would be crowned beside Charles, the tension and old grievances between Anne and Camilla were still alive. According to palace sources, if Anne treated Camilla from a cold distance, Camilla would respond with something bordering on fear. And frankly, that was understandable. Princess Anne has always embodied strength, formality, and royal authority. She is no-nonsense, fiercely confident in her role and utterly immune to charm. Camilla, who had spent most of her life in the background, knew precisely what she was up against. One longtime family acquaintance told reporters Anne is true blue Windsor. She's the Queen's only daughter. Camilla, by contrast, was a mistress, a divorce, and then a royal wife. They came from different worlds. The staff repeatedly repeated the exact phrase, "These two women will never be friends," and how could they be? Camilla hadn't just become Charles's wife. She'd also been involved with Andrew Parker B.S., the man Anne had loved in her youth. In fact, both Charles and Andrew had at different times belonged to both women. First, Andrew went from Camilla to Anne, then back to Camilla. Then Camilla went from Andrew to Charles, Anne's brother. For Princess Anne, those were not just romantic betrayals, they were deeply personal wounds. Despite everything, Anne and Andrew remained unusually close. Even after he married Camilla, he stayed a constant presence in Anne's life. He became the godfather of Anne's daughter, Zara Tindall. They often saw each other, shared a passion for horses, and were sad to have a deep, enduring friendship for Camilla. That was a difficult pill to swallow. Anne's bond with Andrew was unshakable regardless of her royal title or place beside the king, creating subtle but ever-present tension. Even as Camilla evolved from the most hated woman in Britain to queen consort, even as she smiled for cameras and fulfilled royal duties with grace, there was one figure whose approval remained elusive, Princess Anne. The tension didn't need words. It echoed in body language, seating arrangements, and official photographs. It lingered in glances and gestures. No royal title or public gesture could erase what was in truth a decades-old rivalry cloaked in crowns and protocol. But as history teaches us, even the deepest ice can melt, just not yet. In November 2024, something happened that no one could have imagined 2 decades earlier. Queen Camilla and Princess Anne appeared together at a very public and symbolic event. For the first time, the two women, once rivals and now allies, shared the stage with warm smiles and a rare sense of ease. The ceremony occurred at Senate House, the historic headquarters of the University of London. It was the university's annual foundation day, including the awarding of honorary degrees since 1903. This time Queen Camilla was among the recipients. She was honored with an honorary doctorate of literature for her efforts to promote adult literacy and her devotion to reading. Camilla had launched the Queen's Reading Room as an online book club during the pandemic, which has since become a registered charity. Who handed her the diploma? None other than Princess Anne, the university's chancellor since 1981. The symbolism could not be missed. The Queen knelt slightly as Anne placed the ceremonial hood on her shoulders and offered her hand. 2 women exchanged smiles and friendly conversation. One royal commentator called it a moment of quiet dignity and mutual respect. Another noted, "There was no chill in the air, only understanding." The media caught the irony. Camilla, once considered the outsider and villain of the royal family, knelt before the Queen's daughter, the same woman who had once refused to curtsy to her. It was a full circle moment. The image of Camilla bowing her head while Anne stood tall behind her was described in the press as worthy of the Royal Chronicle. This wasn't just a polite gesture, it marked a shift in tone. For the first time the public saw not tension but solidarity. The long and complicated story of Princess Anne and Queen Camilla reached its turning point in April 2025 in a place no one expected, the pages of Tatler magazine. Known for her bluntness and royal duty above emotion, Anne had rarely spoken openly about her family's inner dynamics. But this time she broke her silence, and what she said stunned royal watchers across the country. In a rare and candid interview, Princess Royal, now 74, clearly made her stance on Queen Camilla clear. Her words were not just polite gestures. They were a deep and public acknowledgement of change, not only in their personal relationship, but also in Camilla's entire image within the royal family, and began by reminding readers that her knowledge of Camilla wasn't casual. "I've known her a long time off and on." That one sentence spoke volumes. Their shared history stretched back decades to the tangled romantic web of the 1970s. When Camilla dated Anne's brother Charles and was involved with Andrew Parker B.S. and own former love, they had never been close, which made the next lines even more powerful, speaking about Queen Camilla's role beside King Charles, and said her understanding of her role and how much difference it makes to the king has been absolutely outstanding. She went on, "I'm sure lots of people do say to her what a difference she's made, but that is really true." And finally, the line that would be repeated across every newspaper and TV headline. "She's incredibly generous and understanding," in those 3 sentences, and changed the conversation. These remarks came at a time when King Charles was battling cancer and continuing his royal duties with Camilla steadfastly by his side. She had been there through every step, helping him eat, encouraging him to rest, standing in for him at events and offering quiet strength, and had seen it all firsthand. And now she gave voice to that quiet admiration. "By the way, speaking of health and resilience, I also try to keep track of how I'm doing, especially during stressful times. That's why I use an app called Heartscape. It works as a heart rate monitor and stress tracker. I simply place my finger over the iPhone camera and within seconds it measures my pulse and shows detailed health patterns including energy, stress level, and daily readiness. It also indicates health patterns over time, helping me see what's improving and what needs attention." You can download Heartscape now from the App Store. Just follow the link under this video. For years, insiders had said the two women barely exchanged words. Publicly, they kept their distance. But now the most no-nonsense member of the royal family, the one least likely to play politics, had not only acknowledged Camilla's importance, but praised her character in the most generous terms. It wasn't just a compliment, it was a shift in perception. For the public, this was when Queen Camilla's role felt entirely accepted, not because of press releases or royal ceremony, but because Princess Anne said so. For supporters of the monarchy, it felt like history being rewritten, not through power or protocol, but through mutual respect, and that more than anything was the story behind the headlines. For decades, the idea of Princess Anne and Queen Camilla as allies would have seemed unthinkable. But today that unlikely alliance is quietly reshaping the royal family. While the turning point came in 2024 with the honorary doctorate ceremony, what followed was even more revealing. Over the next month, Camilla and Anne didn't just appear together. They began to operate as a team. Behind palace walls, they coordinated public appearances, supported overlapping causes, and even shared a few private lunches. According to insiders, what changed wasn't just personal, it was generational. With King Charles facing health challenges and the monarchy navigating constant scrutiny, the spotlight shifted to those who still embodied duty without drama. And that spotlight fell on two women who had once barely spoken to each other. Today, British commentators no longer frame Anne and Camilla as rivals. Instead, they are often described as the monarchy's stabilizing force, where others have faltered through scandal, self-exile, or detachment, and Camilla have quietly carried on. In this new phase, Camilla has brought empathy and has brought discipline. Together they've got balance, and perhaps that's the final irony. The royal family's strength now rests on the shoulders of two women who were never meant to stand side by side and yet do. Of course, one question still lingers: what changed? Why did Princess Anne, who in 2005 refused to curtsy to Camilla and allegedly insisted she be called queen consort, not queen, now publicly describe her as incredibly generous and understanding? There are two theories. The first is pragmatic. Camilla poses no threat to the throne. She has no political ambitions and no heirs to promote. What she does have is the ability to stabilize Charles and through him the monarchy. The second theory is more personal, but perhaps it's simply a matter of age and growth, and has been through a great deal. A divorce, public scandals, watching her brother age and fall ill. Through it all, Camilla has stood by Charles, and maybe Anne stopped seeing her as the enemy and started seeing her as the one person who truly supports the king. Royal biographers point out that Anne's visible support has significantly improved Camilla's image in the public's eyes. Their long delayed but ultimately solid alliance has become a symbol of reconciliation, not just between two women, but for the crown itself. So the story of a long-standing rivalry has transformed into an alliance that now strengthens the royal family. Princess Anne and Queen Camilla, two strong women who went through jealousy, pain, and cold distance, have managed to find mutual respect. What do you think? Is this reconciliation a sign of maturity, or just a political move for the sake of royal stability? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.